It's hard to pray 5 when you working 9 to 5.
The people always say about this deen, and I always push back on this, they think that every black person who comes to this deen must have been to prison or must have been a gangster. That's not the case. You know, I have friends, relatives who went to prison, but I wasn't one of those people. I escaped it, alhamdulillah, by the skin of my teeth. But I went to university, I studied law, went to law school, so I didn't come through the usual route. So don't ever be thrown off that this religion is just a religion of rejects or people who've just been to prison. May Allah obviously overlook the sins of those who did go to prison. That doesn't just happen in people's lives. It doesn't happen to everybody. As I'm reflecting on why I came to this deen, I wasn't a gangster, so to speak, but I was just somebody just living my life. Somebody who enjoyed the life of this dunya. I heard about Islam when I was at university from a friend of mine. I thought, mashallah, it's a good way of life, but I don't want to be a Muslim. I'm enjoying what I'm doing. I was just enjoying. And let's be honest, we don't talk about the past, our past sins, but I used to enjoy obviously the clubbing, the life that I used to do and having those relationships outside of Islam. I used to enjoy those things. That's just one of the things of growing up. Reflecting back now, when I've reached this level of maturity, yeah, okay, I was misguided. But you know, one of the things I did realize in this growing up, a lot of the behaviors you exhibit are due to the friends you have and the friends you have around you. And I remember the friends I had around me. One of the things that really threw me away from the life of Jahiliyyah is just looking at the friends I had. And you know, this is very interesting for all you young people to reflect about this. Look, and I often mention this, I've mentioned this to Sheikh Azhar, Ustad Owais, and all the brothers who are here. When I reflect back on my life, you think I grew up outside, just outside of Nottingham. And the life I lived is the same as everybody else, the young people of my life. We grew up in the same environment, subjected to the same education, you know, the same things out on the street. We grew up in similar lifestyles, and yet I was the one that guided Allah and guided to Islam, and they weren't guided. Why is that? Because to be guided to Islam, you've got to have a certain maturity about you. That's the truth. You've got to be mature. You've got to have a mature mind. Not only does Allah guide the mature mind, He also guides the truthful heart. And one of the events, I do remember this, I wasn't happy with the lifestyle I was living. Meaning that I looked at the friends, I looked at the lives they were living, I thought, you know, surely I can do better than this. There was an event that comes to my mind, and I've mentioned this before, and I apologize for mentioning it again. But there was a time when my friends, all they're interested in was getting high. That's all they're interested in, just getting high. By any means necessary, getting high. And one day they ran out of money to buy drugs. So what they did, they went out into the countryside to find some mushrooms, what they call magic mushrooms. When you have these magic mushrooms, you put them in, make like tea, then you drink it and get dizzy and happy. And by Allah, I think to myself, truly, is this the life I want for myself? And that's what I'm talking about, maturity of mind. Often people are not mature enough to say, well, is this the life I want for myself? Do I want to be just walking the street? Do I want to be living and doing the things I'm doing? And this is where that maturity of mind and faith comes into action, because by Allah, Allah will guide those, and He never turns away those who are truthful and those who are sincere. So one of the things when I reflect, I look back on my lifestyle, you know, when I became Muslim, I went out to all my friends, all of them that I grew up with, all my relatives. And of all of them, no one responded. No one responded, even though they knew that what I was saying was something that was truthful, something that was sincere. You know, a lifestyle that was honest. And that doesn't appeal to a lot of people. But a lifestyle that's honest. What, you're going to be praying, you're not going to be drinking anymore. In fact, I remember some of the friends, when I told them, look, I'm done with this lifestyle. You know, the drinking, you know, the getting high, you know, just the clubbing. I'm done with that lifestyle. They were looking at me and laughing. Some of them were laughing, not all of them. Some of them were laughing. Look at him. He's always inside. He never goes out. He's always inside. When I was getting high with them, it wasn't a problem. As soon as I said to them, no, this lifestyle, it's not for me. There's something better than this, and started to talk about Islam. Then they thought I was crazy. I wasn't crazy when I was getting high, but I was crazy when I started talking about God. I'm talking about wanting to live a clean lifestyle, wanting to be sincere, wanting to be honest, thinking about, you know, this life, it's a bit more than what we were presented with. There might be a life after death. As soon as I started talking like that, then they started saying I was crazy, not before. And it's amazing, brothers, look, I can only say this as somebody who's gone through the years. I've gone through 20, I've gone through 30, I've gone through 40, I've gone through 50. I can see the futility of what's out on the street. You see the futility of it. I mean, it leads nowhere. And that's one of the reasons I became Muslim. Because the lifestyle I was living, even if, look, forget being a gangster or selling drugs or walking around and what. When I was living the lifestyle I was living, and I was saying I was just a guy just living his life, I realized that's a life that was leading nowhere. You can get up every day, go to your job, come home, you can go clubbing at the weekend, but what have you achieved at the end of the week and the end of the year? You look back and say, what am I actually doing with my life? I've got friends, by Allah, I've got a friend, I remember speaking to him at 30 years old, when we were 30 years old, a distant cousin. He'd spent half of his life, 15 years of his life, in youth offending institutions and prison by the time he was 30 years old. Can you believe that? And he came out even more hardened than when he went in. I remember speaking to him and saying, you know, what do you intend to do with your life? Listen, it says in the Bible, God helps those who help themselves. He was intent on being a criminal. My God, he's reached now 50 years old and he's mentally ill, meaning from a spiritual point of view, an Islamic point of view, we know that any lifestyle you live that is contrary to Islam, surely is going to bring evil into your life. Because it's not the true reality. And this is something I try and point out whenever I'm doing a khutbah to people. Anyone, and this goes for anyone, and we know many good people, those good people who are Christians, good people who are Jewish, good people who are Hindu, good people who are Sikh, but for sure, anyone who is not Muslim, anyone who is not living an Islamic lifestyle is not living the true reality of this world. And that is one of the reasons why the Lions put this event together, to steer people to the reality that is Islam and the reality of the world. Yes, Allah did create this world. Yes, Allah has ordained a lifestyle that we should live through the practices and the sunnah of his Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. A life that is complete opposite to what you see on the street. You know, one of the things I always reflect about this, and I didn't expect to be doing this talk, so I didn't bring the catalogue, and I have a catalogue of newspaper cuttings reflecting on things that people have done, and they've thrown away their life, completely thrown it away. I just talked about Khuzaimah, whose life ended at 19, and Kimani, who I used to teach, whose life ended at 18. And I've taught people whose life ended at 15, they're now dead. People who are accused of attempted murder, people who are in prison. One of the things that they don't tell you when you live in this lifestyle is how close you come to ending up behind bars. And I came within a whisker of it by going with friends and just doing something stupid. And I almost ended up in youth detention. By Allah, Allah saved me from it. And it really just corrected my head. Look, this isn't the lifestyle I want. I don't want a lifestyle as a hard man. I don't want a lifestyle as a gangster. And that's something else I'm going to tell you. Brothers, look, I'm a lot older than a lot of you. Any around here born in 1990? Have you young people? I was born a long time before 1990. But I can think back to then. You know, there's no such thing, and this is what life's taught me, there's no such thing as a hard man. There's no such thing. It's just fiction, Hollywood fiction. You see these Hollywood movies. There's this man, something happens, like his family gets killed or he gets betrayed, he's some CIA agent, hard man, he goes around and beats up everybody and kills everybody. But the reality of it, life doesn't work like that. I remember in 1992, and I'm showing my age, there was a gangster, they called them the Essex Boys. Perhaps those who are older, Mohammed, goodbye at the back, perhaps you remember this. The Essex Boys. Pat Tate, I remember this. Pat Tate, he was an Essex hard man. Means a proper hard man. Walking around, threatening people, in drugs, a gangster, proper gangster. Pat and two of his companions were found shot to death in a Land Rover in 1992, and the killers were never caught. For every hard man, there's an ending. Because a man is only so hard as the shotgun that's put in his face. There's no such thing as a hard man. It's just fiction. Walking around this, being the alpha male. It's just not true. And you learn that through maturity of years. You know, one of the blessings of this deen If you want to know what a true man is, but it doesn't appeal to everybody. If you want to know what a true alpha male is, what the true qualities of a real man are, read the seerah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. If you want to know what a hard man is, a true hard man, a man who's fearless, who's brave, who has the qualities of humanity, that's the man that you should aspire to be. Not somebody who's walking the street, who doesn't care whether a life is taken away, who doesn't care whether poison is sold into your communities. The Prophet ﷺ, he bought a lot for our ummah and for this world which we sadly need now. But if I was a parent, because I have children, the one thing I would say to you, and I've stressed this point again, it takes maturity to be a Muslim. Real maturity. And believe me, boys, listen, I did not become a Muslim till I was 31. Think about that. Think seriously about that. What was I doing with the other 30 years? What was I doing with my life? What was I doing? Just messing around. 30 lost years of my life, just being immature. So it takes real maturity of mind for you to be sitting here at the age of 10 or 12 or 14 or 16. It takes real maturity of mind. May Allah raise all of you young people to be true guardians of this deen. The guardians of this deen are people who are upright, trustworthy, brave people who are not fearless and they love their Islam. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.